A Redditor named Kaylee Love shared a creepy experience she and her partner Jared had during a spontaneous visit to an abandoned mental asylum. The couple, who run a paranormal investigation team called Love to Investigate, had just finished investigating a haunted prison the night before when they noticed the asylum on Google Maps and decided to check it out on their way home. They didn't expect much, especially since it was broad daylight and they only had one phone with limited memory and battery to record the visit. After uploading the footage to their YouTube channel, though, a subscriber pointed out something they'd missed. There was an EVP and a solid figure standing at the end of the hallway, appearing to watch them. When they reviewed the footage, they were shocked to see what looked like a girl in a hospital gown with long black hair. Neither of them had seen anyone at the time, even though they'd both looked down that hallway multiple times. Take a look at this. So did you catch that? Here it is, slowed down a little bit. I don't know, to me that looks like Reagan from The Exorcist, like the hospital gown and everything. And like I said, they picked up some eerie audio as well. So you can hear this raspy male voice that says, "Hi Stacy," over Kaylee's own voice.
What's that? Whoa.
Now, Jared wasn't speaking, and the voice sounded like it came from behind her, she said. They now believe the voice could belong to a former doctor from the asylum who may have been aware of the girl's spirit before they were. Maybe that mysterious figure in the hallway that was watching them was named Stacy. Michelle Swope is a paranormal investigator who spent a lot of time at the abandoned St. Albans Sanatorium in Virginia. Over a decade ago, she worked there during Halloween events, gave ghost tours, and carried out her own investigations in her free time. Using just a basic digital recorder, Michelle would sit alone in different parts of the building and ask questions in the dark, hoping to catch responses from spirits. In 2012, she focused on capturing electronic voice phenomena, or EVPs. These are unexplained voices that show up in recordings even though no one heard them in person. She ended up recording 2 EVPs that really stood out. One of them came from a place called Rebecca's Room, said to be one of the most haunted rooms in the building. Take a listen to this. Very carefully, you'll hear a woman's voice saying, "Someone is driving me nuts." According to local legend, Rebecca was a patient who took her own life in the room after a miscarriage. Michelle's second EVP was recorded in a bathroom in the attic. While sitting on the floor beside a bathtub, she asked questions, hoping for a response. When she reviewed the recording later, she heard a voice say, "The floor is getting wet down here," followed by a train going by. No one else had been in there with her at the time. Now, I've heard lots of supposed EVPs before. The quality of these ones isn't great because of the limited equipment she had at the time, but there are clearly words being spoken in these, full sentences. Pretty creepy stuff. The old Montana State Prison in Deer Lodge is known for being one of the most haunted places in the state. A paranormal group called Tortured Souls Investigations recorded audio inside the prison, and what they captured was pretty disturbing. In the recording, you can clearly hear a voice saying a woman's name, followed by another voice desperately pleading, "Help me."
Were you a prisoner here? Were you a guard here?
The team insisted that the voice didn't come from anyone in the group and that they only heard it when the recording was played back later. Montana State Prison has a long and violent history. It opened in 1871 and closed in 1979. Conditions inside were known to be pretty rough. Over the years, there were riots, countless violent deaths, overcrowding. One of the most famous events was a major riot in 1959 where guards were taken hostage. The National Guard had to be called in. 2 inmates died during that standoff. Since the prison shut down, people have reported all kinds of strange experiences. All your standard ghostly fare, like cold spots, shadowy shapes lurking in corridors, footsteps, and of course, unexplained voices like the one you just heard. The paranormal investigation team Tortured Souls Investigations also explored a high school in Montana where students had claimed to experience some unexplained things. During their investigation, a team member picked up something about as eerie as it gets, disembodied voice saying, "Mommy." This isn't an EVP. They heard it as they were recording, and the voice repeats a few times. Take a listen to this.
And the ramp going down into the auditorium.
Can you do it again?
That one gives me shivers. I mean, it's just so classically horror movie. Something about kids and old people and abandoned places. Ghosts of kids and old people. I don't know what it is. It just creeps me out. This next one comes from Reddit user Haunted Luca, who recorded some very unsettling stuff from an abandoned railway tunnel. Apparently around 300 people died here in 2 cave-ins when it was being built in the 1800s. Take a listen to this. Now, I have no way of knowing if this is staged, but there are some pretty creepy noises here. Very guttural, almost demonic sounding. Haunted Luca added in the comments that he got EVPs in the tunnel either by asking them to speak or leaving the recordings for a few hours in the pitch black tunnel late at night. The tunnel is about 700 meters in a national park surrounded by bushland. And according to the uploader, not long after he got these recordings, a boy disappeared near the tunnel during the day and was found dead weeks later. This video became pretty well known online in the spooky side of the internet. It was originally uploaded by a man named Frank, who runs the YouTube channel Exploring Abandoned Mines in Unusual Places. Here he's exploring the abandoned Horton mine in Nevada. He briefly explored here a year before and had a creepy encounter when a chain started swinging on its own. Just one single chain. So when he came back to explore it about a year later, he was pretty hesitant. And when he heard strange noises coming from deep inside the abandoned mine, it was all the confirmation he needed that this was not a place he wanted to be.
All the cascading water and look. What the fuck is that?
Now, strangely, the clip you just watched was actually removed from the original video for some reason. Nobody knew why, and a lot of people have been perusing the internet in search of this clip until a helpful Reddit user shared the snippet. Pretty bizarre. Definitely adds to the mystery. Hey, behind you. How many people actually looked behind them? Well, when is that series of words ever a good thing? I mean, you only hear it when you're about to be hit with something or there's a ghost standing behind you. Well, Reddit user Black Eleanor 68 recorded someone or something saying those words while carrying out a paranormal investigation in their basement. Take a listen to this. They only heard this while playing back the recording after the fact. And I mean, ghosts just need to get better at their communication skills. If you're gonna warn someone that something's behind them, kind of helps if they actually hear it at that moment. What you're about to hear became one of the most mysterious noises ever recorded in the United States. It's known as the Forest Grove noise. In February of 2016, people in Forest Grove, Oregon started hearing a strange high-pitched sound late at night. It was loud, lasted anywhere from 10 seconds to a few minutes, and it would come and go without warning. One woman posted a video of the sound on the city's Facebook page, and the story quickly spread. City officials looked into it. The Department of Forestry said it wasn't their equipment. The gas company NW Natural confirmed there were no gas line issues. The Public Works Department and the Fire Department also couldn't figure it out. Even a physics professor, Andrew Dawes, tried mapping the locations where people heard the sound, but he couldn't pinpoint where it was coming from. By the end of February, over 200 calls had been made to police, but after February 27th of that year, the sound suddenly stopped and was never heard again. Eventually, investigations stopped, and the case was closed without an answer. This case was so strange, though, that later that year, a local theater even turned the mystery into a haunted house attraction called Aliens in the Grove.
It's like jumping noises. Damn.
These strange sounds are often referred to as skyquakes. The mysterious sounds seem to come from the sky, often compared to cannon fire, thunder, explosions. Some say they sound like trumpets in the air. They've been reported all over the world, near coasts, in the mountains, quiet rural areas. What makes them so strange is that there's no visible cause. No storm, no earthquake, no plane overhead, just a loud, unexplained boom that sometimes rattles windows or shakes the ground. People have reported them since at least the 1800s. There are a lot of theories here. Some scientists think these sounds might come from underwater gas explosions, shifting tectonic plates, pressure changes in the atmosphere. Others think they could be caused by meteorites or distant thunder bouncing through the air in strange ways. Sonic booms from aircraft are also sometimes blamed, but a lot of reports happen when there aren't even any planes nearby. Alright, there's been a ton of ghost stuff on this list. I'll close out with something a little different. Something recorded underwater. Deep underwater. What you're about to listen to is known as the upsweep. The upsweep was first recorded by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration in 1991, using underwater microphones in the Pacific Ocean. It's been recorded pretty regularly ever since it was first discovered. Scientists haven't been able to figure out exactly where or what's causing it. One theory is that it's related to underwater volcanic activity, but that's just one idea. Sound seems to peak during spring and fall, which has led some to think it could be connected to seasonal changes in the ocean, whatever that means. The sound has changed slightly over time, but it keeps the same general pattern. The upsweep is still one of the most unexplained ocean sounds ever recorded. What do you do if you saw this thing glaring down at you from an old abandoned building? Two guys were out urban exploring one night when they came across an old rundown building, probably the place they were going to check out. They weren't expecting to find anyone, as the area they were in was pretty desolate, and they didn't come across anyone. Instead, they came across something much worse. Something pops up from the roof, startling the men before leaping to the other side of the roof and perching there, staring down at them. Understandably, the men turn around and run off. The creature looks like your quintessential rake. It's thin, pale, and hairless, with glowing eyes. What are your thoughts on this one, though? Let me know down in the comments. This footage here was uploaded to YouTube by Voyager Overland, who'd been out camping back in October when they spotted this. Some sort of weird semi-translucent figure seems to be lurking around their campsite. In the description, the uploader wrote, "On a recent overlanding trip to Ruby Falls and the Alberta Rockies, we captured some late-night footage that is beyond explanation. I have no idea what it was, but it was lurking around our Jeeps during the night. I'm just glad the grandkids did not see this. I don't know if I can ever camp again after seeing this footage that I kept as proof of the unexplained." This video sticks out on the Voyager Overland channel because their videos don't have anything to do with supernatural generally. They just post camping videos, so it's not like they go out seeking paranormal stuff or creating hoaxes for clicks. From the looks of it, they were just capturing some footage for a regular video, and this thing popped up. If I had to use one word to describe this next video, it would be tense. So a dude is sitting in his car at night in the wilderness. I guess he accidentally fell asleep because he forgot to roll up the window, and from outside we hear animalistic grunting as something is circling around his car, and then we see this. Some commenters say this looks like a mountain lion. I don't know about that. I think at this time of night you'd get a lot more reflection on the eyes, but even if it is a mountain lion, that is still scary. Those yellow eyes. Ugh. Creepy. It's creepy. Next up, we have our first Sasquatch video on the list. You knew I wasn't going to be able to get through a video like this without having Squatch on here. So this video was captured in Idaho. A dude was driving his four-wheeler when he spotted something running out from the bush and across the road. Now, this video is great, and not because of the supposed creature necessarily, although that is cool, but because the cameraman does something I've never seen anyone else do in one of these supposed Bigfoot videos. Yeah, he turns around and he drives off in a hurry, which is what all of us would do in this situation. He doesn't just sit there and keep filming into the trees trying to capture the thing again. He doesn't say like, "Oh, what was that? oh, that was big. No, his self-preservation instincts kick in and he just hustles out of there. Just makes the video all the more convincing. What you're looking at there is one of the most famous pieces of cryptid footage, believed by some to be a chupacabra caught on camera. This video was taken on August 8th of 2008 when a police officer named Brandon Rydell in DeWitt County, Texas, filmed something strange running across the road. The creature looks like a hairless coyote with a long snout and big ears, and it's this snout in particular, apparently, that has confused experts because it doesn't quite match anything they're used to seeing in the local area. The video shows the creature darting away from the police car, moving quickly and with a bit of an unusual gait. The footage made the rounds online at the time, and people started connecting it to the famous chupacabra legend, which is known for killing livestock and draining their blood through small triangular puncture wounds. In the years since, this video has become one of the most talked about pieces of evidence when it comes to the creature. Some have suggested that it's just a weird coyote, maybe with mange or some kind of disease, but again, the long snout and its movements don't quite fit the description of any typical animal in the area. In this next video, we see a dude filming his backyard at night as someone or something is creeping around just in front of his bushes. The thing looks pale and hairless, but not thin and spindly like your typical rake-like creature. This thing looks bulkier. Kind of reminds me of a hairless chimpanzee or E.T. in some ways because of the long arms and the short legs. In fact, you can't really see legs at all. It's just something you'd never want to encounter anywhere, really, let alone in your own backyard in the middle of the night. I'm not sure where this video was filmed or who the original uploader is, but the man behind the camera is talking on the phone to a friend named Mike, describing what he's seeing. He also says that it's the second time he'd seen it in a week, and that it looked, quote, demonic. In a video uploaded to the YouTube channel Jimmy B Trail Cams, we see something pretty disturbing. Footage shows a large, hairy creature walking across the screen in the woods of Birch Bay, Washington. Now, what makes this video extra interesting is that Jimmy B isn't a Bigfoot hunter. He just seems to have a passion for wildlife. His channel has videos of foxes, wolves, hawks, owls, so this one definitely stands out. The footage isn't crystal clear, but for a Bigfoot sighting, it does show a lot. The creature moves with that distinct Bigfoot walk, its arms hanging at its sides, and a long stride that seems too big for a regular animal, or, of course, a human. It's got that typical heavy gait you hear people describe in Bigfoot encounters. Also interesting, after posting the video, Jimmy B said 4 of his 8 trail cameras went missing the day after. Coincidence? Maybe, but it definitely raises some eyebrows. In terms of still images of Bigfoot type creatures, these ones may be my absolute favorites. There was this show here in Canada called Mystery Hunters back in the day. It was all about cryptids, ghosts, and legends from all over the world. In one episode, these pictures of the skunk ape were shown, and boy, did they freak me out when I was a youngster, but I loved it. I kept tuning in to see if this episode would come back just to see these images. The skunk ape is mostly spotted in Florida, though there have been reports in Texas and a couple other states as well. What makes it stand out is the strong, terrible odor that it's said to give off, hence the name skunk ape. A lot of people claim to have seen the skunk ape, and some even have photos that they swear show the creature. One of the most talked about pieces of evidence are, of course, these famous photos here that were snapped in 2000 by a woman on her back porch in Florida, showing what looks like a huge ape-like creature walking through a swamp. Now, some have said this thing looks like an orangutan. I mean, similar in some ways, sure, but in general, no. If this is a costume as well, it's a pretty solid one. This next video was originally posted to TikTok by Killer Clowns 2022 back in 2023. In the clip, a group of guys are driving down a quiet road late at night using flashlights to try and spot a buck that one of them thinks he saw earlier. Now, as they're scanning the area, one of them spots something in the distance, thinking it might be the animal, but when they shine their light on it, whatever it is doesn't look like a buck at all. Instead, they see a pale, slender figure that looks too human to be an animal, but not quite normal enough to be human. Suddenly, the creature lets out a terrifying screech before it starts rushing straight toward the camera. And finally, we have a creepy video from TikTok. A couple had been hiking through the woods at night in Ohio when they noticed a pair of eyes peeking out at them from the tree line. At first, they thought it might just be a deer, but as they kept watching, they realized something wasn't quite right about this thing. The way the eyes were moving and the fact that deer usually are the ones running off, not tailing people, made them start to feel uneasy. It seemed like whatever this thing was, it was following them. The creature never fully shows itself, it's always in the shadows, but some commenters pointed out that the creature's movements are similar to a big cat. Some people also jokingly commented that it could be the Ohio grassman or dogman. Whether it is a cryptid or a predatory animal, though, it would have been terrifying to be in this situation, and in the end, the couple decided to stop filming and just get out of there. So let's start things off with ghosts. You probably didn't think I'd be starting off like this, but I think you could make a pretty good argument for paranormal stuff like this being a sign of possible parallel universe. Almost all of us have heard someone's first-hand account of having seen something, or feeling cold spots, hearing noises that don't seem to have a logical explanation. The usual explanation, aside from the ones made by skeptics, is that these are signs of hauntings, usually a dead person who's not able to fully cross over to the other side, so they remain in this limbo between the world of the living and the dead, tied to the places they once called home. But what if these so-called ghosts aren't actually spirits or souls, but glimpses into another universe? What if what we interpret as paranormal activity could be caused by parallel universes overlapping? Imagine it like looking through a frosted window. You can see movement on the other side, shadows and shapes, but they're not really there in the way we understand it. Maybe at times in certain places, the line between dimensions gets a little fuzzy, and you catch a brief glance into a parallel world. Instead of a ghost haunting you, maybe it's just a glimpse of someone from a different version of reality. Next, we've got time slips. Ever had a moment where you're sure you were somewhere, but everyone else insists you weren't, or vice versa? Now, if this happens to you a lot, definitely see a doctor before chalking it up to what some idiot online like me says, but if you've been cleared of any early signs of dementia, then maybe something stranger could be going on. Some people think these experiences could be linked to parallel universes, the idea being that we can sometimes slip between timelines. One minute you could be at a party, the next you're back home, but with no memory of how you got there. Or you might be walking down a street and suddenly the surroundings look completely different, like you've been dropped into a past version of your city. This sounds pretty ridiculous, and I can't say that I've ever experienced anything like this, but some people say they have. You can find stories like this all over places like Reddit. Not that you should believe everything you read online, but even if a small handful of these stories happen to be true, that is pretty strange. Some people think time slips could happen when two timelines briefly overlap, and your consciousness gets caught in this switch. You're still you, but somehow you're seeing a different version of events, like a time traveler who doesn't even know that they're time traveling. Now let's talk about something a bit more sciencey, quantum entanglement. This is a phenomenon where two particles become linked in such a way that when something happens to one, the other is instantly affected, no matter how far apart they are. Yes, this really does happen, despite the fact that what I just described doesn't seem to follow the rules of space and time. It's as if the particles are somehow aware of each other across these vast distances. We still don't know exactly why this happens, and if you wanted to make the argument, which I am, it could possibly point to, at the very least, a glitch in the Matrix, similar to the parallel universes theory. A glitch in the Matrix meaning that the world around us is an illusion created by who knows what. Point is, our universe may just be one of many. Could we exist in this complex web of overlapping universes where every now and then one of the strands twitches in a way we don't understand, causing a mysterious and unexplainable phenomena like this? Alright, let's talk deja vu. Sure, this gets talked about a lot, but for good reason. It's pretty disconcerting. Every time it happens, it throws me off. I'm always left with this uneasy, existential dread for about 30 seconds before I get on with my day, but it's this brief reminder that despite everything science tells us, and as clear as the world seems at face value, there are a lot of things we just don't understand. It's eerie, but kind of humbling. How can we be experiencing a sequence of events so specific that we logically know that it's the first time we've lived it, and yet somehow there's this feeling in the pit of our stomach that, no, we've been here before, seen this play out. It's not a memory, more like something you've seen in a dream, maybe? It's vivid yet hazy at the same time. There are tons of theories on deja vu, one being that you have lived the exact moment but in a different life. That time either runs in a constant loop, or a parallel universe running right along our own briefly overlaps and gives us that strange, uncanny feeling. Think of it like your brain momentarily accessing memories from a different version of yourself, one who's living a slightly different life, but maybe in this other version you did something exactly like what you're doing right now, and for a split second your brain glitches and pulls that memory into the current moment. You're living in the present moment, but your mind receives a kind of signal from a different timeline. So I mentioned glitches in the Matrix a bit earlier, so I want to go into more detail on that. This one is very popular online. Glitches in the Matrix are when people claim to experience weird moments where reality seems to glitch out. Like say you notice what looks to be the same person walking by twice in a row, or objects appearing or disappearing out of nowhere, just weird stuff like that. Almost like a video game that's failing to render things correctly. The idea here is that we could be living in a simulation, and every so often, the code that runs the simulation gets a little wonky. But to take it a step further, what if those glitches aren't just errors in a simulation, but signs that our universe is brushing up against another one? In theory, if parallel universes do exist, we could occasionally get a peek into them or experience moments where the fabric of space-time bends. Could be as simple as noticing a repeating pattern in your day, but your brain can't quite reconcile with what you know of reality. It's like your system glitches out because it's trying to process something from another universe that doesn't quite match up with your version. The experience of missing time. This one is a classic, especially when it comes to UFOs. There are tons of stories and cases of people driving around a desolate road late at night when they see a strange light in the sky, and then all of a sudden, hours, or sometimes even days have passed that they just have no recollection of. Missing time. Could this phenomenon be connected to parallel universes? Well, the theory is that these abductees may have actually slipped into another timeline. As for whether aliens are involved or not, who knows? Point is, something could shift in the fabric of space-time and your consciousness jumps into a new version of reality, leaving this gap in your memories. It's not so much that time was stolen from you, it's more like you temporarily just moved into another timeline, and when you returned to your own, it felt like you lost those hours. Quantum tunneling is a very bizarre phenomenon where particles can move through barriers that should, according to physics, be impossible. Picture it like a ball traveling through a solid wall instead of bouncing off it. Yes, this does happen, but the science is very hard to explain. Again though, parallel universes, could they play into this? Could particles be tunneling from one reality to another? Instead of just interacting with the particles in our universe, these particles might slip through some sort of portal into another reality. This could help explain some of the bizarre stuff we see in our world that doesn't really make sense. Random moments where the laws of physics seem to just not apply. When it comes to parallel universes, the rules we know might not work the same way, and particles that can tunnel through different dimensions, well, that could be the key to how those universes are crossing paths, even if we don't always notice. Alright, let's switch gears, head up into space. We've got all kinds of mysterious things out there. Strange lights, unexplained radio signals, objects that don't behave how we expect them to. Of course, you know where I'm going with this one, but even some scientists wonder if some of these things could be evidence of parallel universes. Take the WOW signal, for example, an unexplained radio signal detected by astronomers back in 1977 that lasted for about 72 seconds and then disappeared. No one knows where it came from or what caused it. Some think it could have come from a parallel universe, trying to communicate with ours. And yes, it sounds pretty far-fetched, and maybe it is. Maybe there's a much more mundane explanation, but also consider just how vast and mysterious space is, and how little we really understand of it. Looking at it that way, the possibility of another universe interacting with ours in some way seems pretty plausible. Every so often we hear about things that seem to appear out of nowhere. Like maybe you're in your living room, you find a book on your coffee table that you're pretty sure you didn't buy, or maybe you swear you put your keys in one place but you find them sitting in a completely different spot and no one moved them. Or the reverse, objects just disappear without a trace. Can most situations like this be chalked up to our brains just sucking at remembering things sometimes? Sure, but could there also be something else going on in very rare cases? One theory is that this could be the result of objects slipping in and out of parallel universes. Say you leave your socks sitting on the edge of your bed, but when you turn around to grab them, they're nowhere to be found. So you look all over your room only to find that they're actually sitting on your bathroom counter. What if they were simply sucked into another version of reality for a while? Maybe it was in a parallel universe for a second, but when the reality shift happens, it comes back, just not in the same place you left them. Mandela effect. The phenomenon where a large group of people remember something in a certain way only to find out that it never actually happened that way at all. I think what's so interesting about this one is that unlike stuff like deja vu or objects going missing, situations that are a lot more likely to happen in isolation, Mandela effects are corroborated by mass amounts of people. For some context, the name Mandela effect comes from people remembering Nelson Mandela dying in the 80s, when in fact he passed away in 2013. Some people think this is a glitch in our collective memory, like we've all tapped into a parallel universe where things happen just slightly differently. The list of famous Mandela effects is huge and just continues to grow, from the famous Bernstein Bears versus Bernstein Bears confusion to the misremembered lines from famous movies like Star Wars and Forrest Gump. It's almost like there's a version of reality that some people are still hanging on to, still remembering, even though it never actually existed in our timeline. Again, are these just examples of our collective memory not being the most reliable, or could we just possibly be momentarily connecting to another universe where things unfolded just slightly differently?
Number 10. Alien caught on camera. In September 2024, this mysterious figure was caught on camera. Its movement activated the trail cam, and it appears to have a glowing body and an orb-shaped head. This is one of those eerie sightings that sends shivers right down your spine, especially with all the drone stuff happening. Is this an alien? The soft, otherworldly glow that it gives off only adds to its unsettling, odd appearance, making it seem as if it's straight out of a sci-fi nightmare. Its form seems definitely unnatural. That's not an animal for sure. Now some say it is an optical illusion, possibly lens flare or a strange reflection off the lens, making it appear far larger than it actually is. Yet the way the light plays around its figure leaves many wondering, could it be something we can't explain? Or is it just another trick of the eye? Either way, the mysterious nature of this alien image still holds a creepy allure, leaving you to wonder if there's something more out there. Number 9. Ghost Woman. This photo comes to us from Brandon Cottrell. They say, quote, "When I was setting up the trail cameras that day, it felt like I wasn't alone outside." The eerie part is that a young woman went missing in this very area back in the late 80s, and despite years of searching, they've never found any remains. That history combined with this photo, remind me to never go in the woods again. I'm just gonna stay inside forever. We're good. It's hard not to imagine that whatever was out there that day could have been linked to the disappearance, as if something or someone has been watching the area for all of these years, just waiting for the right time to reveal itself. That was spooky. Sent shivers down my back reading that one. Whenever I do this with my hands, is how you know it's real. Number 8. Ghost snake. What in the world is this? This strange figure zipped past the camera not once, but twice, leaving us all scratching our heads. It's completely unexplainable, especially considering it was caught in the middle of nowhere, deep in the upper Midwest. No one can figure out what it is or where it came from. The way it moved so quickly, so purposefully, has us questioning everything. Could it be something we've never seen before up until now? Or is there another explanation that we're missing? I can't figure it out. I can't even think about what animal this could be. Last I checked, electric eels don't fly, but who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. I have a coffee bean or something stuck in my... something in there. It's right there. I feel it. Number 7. Montana Grim Reaper. This one comes from a user, and they say, "My grandpa lives in rural Montana, and one day one of his friends from town came into the local bar looking completely shaken. So my grandpa then said that he was in a state of shock almost. His face was as pale as a ghost. He was reluctant to show the photos at first, worried that people might think that he was losing his mind. More than fair. He owns a big piece of land and has trail cameras set up to track wildlife. That part's not weird. But when he went through the footage, that's when he found something quite odd. My grandpa's wife sent the photos to a nearby university for analysis, and to their surprise, the professor couldn't explain what they were looking at. So what do you think this is? Or who? Any ideas on what could be lurking? What are your best theories? Comment down below. Number 6. Chain Man. This user anonymously posted this photo online with an eerie backstory. They say, "My uncle set up a trail cam at my old grandparents' house, which is now abandoned." Abandoned, that's the key word here. The camera takes 3 photos every time it detects motion, but this strange figure only shows up in 1 of the 3 shots. They have no idea what it was. They say, "I'm not saying it's a ghost, though I don't really believe in that stuff. Hey, I don't know how to tell you this, but that's for sure a ghost. Either there's a man living there or there's a ghost living there. One of the two. Good game. Thanks for sharing." Number 5, the last hike. Dalen Kaloa went missing during a hike on the infamous Haiku Stairs, also known as the Stairway to Heaven. Ironically enough, on the morning of February 27th, 2015, Dalen told his family that he planned to hike this dangerous illegal trail. Now, throughout the hike, he sent several photos to his family, but in one image, they noticed something quite strange in the background. They noticed an unidentified man just standing there, almost lurking, watching his every moves. Dalen never returned, and despite extensive searches, he was never found. So now, of course, his family is seeking the public's help to identify this man in the background of the photo, believing, of course, that he might hold vital information that could lead to Dalen's whereabouts. This haunting mystery remains unsolved, leaving many to wonder, could this unidentified man provide the key to uncovering what happened that day? Or even worse, was this man responsible? Number 4, battleground ghost. In 1862, 3 major battles were fought in what now is the Maryland section of the Appalachian Trail. Now, the sheer number of casualties in these battles, of course, create an eerie atmosphere, with many soldiers losing their lives on that land. Today, hikers report seeing ghostly soldiers, strange campfires, and even hearing cannon blasts echoing in the distance, almost as if the spirits of the fallen soldiers are still present. Now, one haunting site is near the farm of Daniel Wise. Visitors to the area have claimed to see ghostly figures wandering the land, adding to the chilling history of this part of the trail. This photo here was taken in May 2015 in that exact same spot. Do you believe this is a ghost from a civil battle? Comment down below. What do you think this is? Number 3, Halloween ghost. Captured, of course, on Halloween Day 2023, this eerie image shows what appears to be a ghostly figure, a ghostly white figure clinging onto an old tree. Now, the form is faint, almost human, not quite, but almost there, and it's blurred, and the low quality makes it seem like it's drifting between this world and another. It raises the question, could it be a simple trick of light with the sun casting strange shadows through the branches? Perfectly explainable? Or is this someone or something who has quietly been watching from the shadows all along, only now revealing itself to those who look closely? This looks a lot like something I saw when I was younger. I always wondered if I saw a ghost or if I was just seeing things. Now I'm starting to think it's the former. Number 2, headless deer. Like something straight out of a dark fairy tale, this image captures a deer that, well, seems to be missing its head, doesn't it? Wandering the forest with an eerie sense of purpose. Perhaps, where's my head? Maybe that's a good purpose, trying to find that. Its disembodied form stirs an unsettling feeling, as if it's lost, aimlessly drifting through the woods, haunting anyone who crosses its path. Now, I know this is most likely an illusion, but the way the deer is angled, I'll be honest, I really can't see how its head can be positioned in order for this to happen. Imagine seeing this on your trail cam one morning. Ugh, I would be sick. And finally, number 1, Mount St. Helens. On May 18th, 1980, David A. Johnston, a dedicated volcanologist, stood over Mount St. Helens, aware of the growing signs of unrest. Now, given the date of this photo, you can probably guess what happens next. This was 13 hours before the devastating eruption, and he made his last transmission over the radio. He said, "Vancouver, Vancouver, this is it." And he was not wrong. Those haunting words echoed into silence as the volcano did erupt, sending ash and destruction all across the landscape. Now, despite extensive search efforts, David's remains were never found, except for this photo, which of course leaves behind a chilling reminder of nature's unpredictable power and the sacrifices made, all in the name of science.
Move over, Chocolate Rain, because I want to talk to you about animal rain. And yes, it's exactly as it sounds, unfortunately. While the phenomenon of flightless animals falling from the sky alongside the rain is uncommon, it has happened, and it's happened more than once. Instances of frogs, tadpoles, spiders, fish, eels, snakes, and worms raining down from the clouds have all made their mark in the history books dedicated to perplexing and inexplicable natural phenomena. Perhaps the most well talked about example of animal rain took place back in 2000 in Ethiopia. Millions of fish, some dead, some fighting for their lives, fell from the sky with rains down onto the incredibly horrified people of Ethiopia. While scientists have theorized that incidences like this are due to these animals getting swept up in tornadoes and waterspouts, it's never actually been observed. And that also wouldn't explain how all of the animals don't just drop down in one place. It's a mystery, and honestly, it really needs to stop. Next up, we have star jelly. What is star jelly? Well, I am so glad you asked. I figured, seeing as we just talked about animal rain, now would be a good time to talk about yet another type of rain. Thick, slimy, gelatinous rain. Maybe. Honestly, scientists really have no idea what star jelly is, other than the fact that it's been around since the 14th century and was likely used to treat abscesses, is often found on trees and in grass, and it's known to evaporate shortly after it's been seen. People have attributed the strange jelly-like substance to alien excrement or government drones, and scientists themselves have theorized that it might be frog eggs that have expanded due to rain, but there is a major flaw in that theory because the jelly does not contain any plant or animal DNA. It's truly a strange and unexplainable mystery. Next up, we have ball lightning, an unexplained natural electrical phenomenon that has been a subject of curiosity since 1834, when it was reported that massive balls of fire had descended from the sky and set a ship on fire, killing everyone aboard, and a subject of scientific research since about a century later, when it was recorded by a British occultist that a dazzling globe of electric fire had appeared in the skies above his cottage. Believe it or not, ball lightning, massive balls of electric energy in the sky that last for many seconds, can travel great distances, and have been known to travel through closed windows, while untraditional, are not actually uncommon. As I said, it's been around for centuries, and while scientists have been able to closely observe it, they are still yet to be able to explain it. Next up, we have a mysterious and possibly inexplicable illness known as Havana syndrome that has largely affected the health of United States diplomats, intelligence officers, and military personnel, who all reported experiencing severe headaches and nausea after hearing an unidentified and unbearable piercing grinding sound coming from what seemed like inside of their heads. The illness first surfaced in 2016 at the US Embassy in Havana, Cuba. Since then, more than 1,000 cases have been reported, all by United States government employees living across the globe, many of which have also experienced nausea, bloody noses, dizziness, memory loss, and cognitive impairment, and some of which have required long-term care after having been affected. While the majority of this illness is unknown, it has been theorized by officials that it could have something to do with sonic weaponry, possibly coming from Russia, a weapon that emits a very specific frequency that triggers the illness. I mean, I know it's just a theory, but it's also literally terrifying because, I don't know, it could be used in global warfare. It's terrifying. Next up, we have the Herstalen lights, which can be seen low in the skies along the Norwegian countryside. They are lights, mysterious lights that seem to appear and disappear out of and into thin air. They glow either blue, red, or yellow for short periods of time, and their origin is completely unknown. That's why it's on this list. Scientists have absolutely no idea what could be causing the strange phenomenon to occur. What they do know, however, is that the flashes of anomalous light date all the way back to the 19th century, and the majority of sightings were recorded in the 1980s, during which time 20 eyewitness reports were being submitted to police stations per week. That's like 1,040 per year. The lights are quite well known now, so while no one is reporting them to the police, the Herstalen lights are still a popular topic of perplexing conversation. There are theories as to what the origin of the lights could be, theories including ionized dust and, of course, UFOs, but as of right now, there is no definitive answer. Next up, did you know that sometimes light is produced directly prior to an earthquake occurring? If the answer is no, don't worry, because neither did I until recently. And while scientists are aware of the unexplainable production of these lights, they also have absolutely no idea why or how they happen. So basically, now that you know they exist, you can consider yourself as smart as your country's greatest minds. The light is a white or bluish flash that lasts only a few moments directly before the beginning of an earthquake, and they have been recorded for centuries. And the first picture of this phenomenon was taken in 1960, and since then scientists have been scrambling to figure out just why this happens. Of course, as is with the majority of unexplained earthly phenomena, there are theories as to why the flash occurs, including piezoelectricity, the process in which crystals convert mechanical energy into electric energy; frictional heating, the transformation of frictional energy produced during a friction process; and electrokinetics dynamic, electrically charged fluids. But they really have no idea. Next up, we have slime mold. This is one of my favorite things in the world, and it's one of the smartest things to exist on Earth, despite the fact that it literally has no brain. But so do some people I know. Slime mold belongs to the phylum Myxomycota kingdom, and while it does have many properties that mimic those of fungus, it is not considered to be a true fungus because of the fact that slime mold ingests its food, while fungus produces enzymes to break down organic matter into chemicals that are then absorbed through their cell walls, not ingested. It's semantics, really. Like I said, slime mold is smart. So smart that it can solve mazes, keep track of time, and it's even good at city planning. Back in 2010, an experiment was conducted in Japan. Slime mold was placed into a model maze of Tokyo, along with nutrients that were placed wherever a major hub existed. The experiment was done to see how the mold would structure Tokyo's subway system if it had been in charge of city planning at the time in which the subway system was built. Well, lo and behold, the mold made it through the maze, hitting every major hub in the city that required a subway system, and sure enough, city planners agreed that the mold's version of the subway system far surpassed the current system in place. How did it do this? Scientists have no idea. That's all I got for you. Next up, we have sliding rocks, also known as sailing stones, located in California's Death Valley. The phrase sailing stones or sliding rocks refers to an inexplicable phenomenon in which massive stones, sometimes weighing up to several hundred pounds, make their way across the desert, moving along the smooth floor of the valley with no outside interference, leaving behind a map of where they came from in the form of a trail etched into the disturbed ground behind them. Not only do these rocks journey around the plains of California's Death Valley, sometimes they decide that they don't like where they're going, and so they fall over, exposing the side of themselves that was once on the ground to the sun. They change directions, and they continue on their revised way. While some scientists believe the rock's movement is due to strong winds, thin sheets of ice, and wet mud, as of right now, they are still not 100% sure. So I'm gonna say these rocks are just out on the town looking for adventure. Next up, we have a rather sad, inexplicable phenomenon, and that is the fact that every year, up to 2,000 whales beach themselves and essentially commit themselves to an early demise. And scientists have no idea why, and despite the fact that this has been happening for at least a couple thousand years. While there are some cases in which intentional beachings make sense, such as age and illness, the majority of mass beachings just don't. As far as you, me, and the scientists know, there is absolutely no rhyme or reason as to why these beautiful creatures exhibit this behavior year in, year out, without fail. Oh, and to make matters worse, it's not just whales, dolphins do it too. Considering the fact that so many whales are currently endangered, I really do hope that we can figure this out soon, and maybe we can figure out something to do that might help. And finally, we have the cursed sleeping city of Kalachi, Kazakhstan, that has left scientists completely dumbfounded since 2013, when all of a sudden, residents of the town began falling asleep out of nowhere with no explanation for hours and even days at a time. The strange phenomenon, which has yet to be understood by scientists, affects people in the village of all ages and genders, and those who are affected also experience side effects such as hallucinations and memory loss. While the reason for these ailments that affect 1/4 of the village's population has yet to be pinpointed, scientists have begun questioning whether or not the large amounts of uranium found in a nearby Soviet-era uranium mine might have something to do with the mysterious illness, although the government of Kazakhstan adamantly denies the possibility of that being the case, because if it were, people actively working in the mines surely would be suffering the same effects, only worse, which they aren't. Apparently. Anyways, regardless of the cause, the village was mostly evacuated in 2015. The status of the affected individuals remain unknown.
One of the biggest mysteries scientists have about our universe is why there is more matter than antimatter. So first off, what is the difference between matter and antimatter? Well, matter is what everything around us is made of. Atoms, molecules, everything. Antimatter is essentially the opposite, with particles that have the same mass but opposite charge to their matter counterparts. Now, according to our current understanding of physics, when matter and antimatter come into contact, they annihilate each other. So if the universe had equal amounts of matter and antimatter when it began, they should have annihilated each other, leaving nothing behind. Thankfully though, that's not the case. We're surrounded by matter. We have stars and planets, entire galaxies. Me and you are made of matter. Antimatter is much more rare. Scientists find it in cosmic rays and particle accelerators. So this lopsidedness between matter and antimatter is a bit of a mystery. Scientists have been trying to figure out why there's this imbalance for decades. There are some theories, but none have been definitively proven yet. One idea is that maybe in the early universe, during the Big Bang, there were tiny differences in how matter and antimatter behaved. These differences could have led to a slight excess of matter, which then went on to form all the stuff we see today, but we really don't know for sure. Next up, we have quantum tunneling. So let's just pretend we have an electron trapped in an energy well. For the sake of this, we'll just imagine this well is like a valley surrounded by very tall mountainous hills. In theory, the particle would need enough energy to climb over the hills to escape the well. But that's not always the case. Quantum tunneling is this phenomena where particles pass through barriers that, according to physics, should be impossible to cross. Even if a particle doesn't seemingly have enough energy to overcome a barrier, there's still a small probability that it'll just tunnel through anyway. This phenomenon is pretty important in various fields like electronics and nuclear physics. For example, it's the reason why electrons can escape from atoms in a process called electron emission. But why is quantum tunneling such a mysterious thing, you ask? Well, for one, it's just not how things work in our everyday experience. Like we're not encountering objects spontaneously passing through barriers without any visible means of doing so. But at the quantum level, tunneling happens all the time. Another mystery is the question of why some particles tunnel and some don't. If we watch a pot of water on the stove, does it boil faster? If we stare at our fingernails long enough, will they grow faster? Of course not. I mean, that's just a preposterous idea, right? Well, not at the quantum level, apparently. The quantum Zeno effect is this strange phenomenon where frequent observation can actually prevent, say, an atom from changing or evolving. It's named after the Greek philosopher Zeno, who rejected the idea of space-time and motion. And this phenomenon is named after him because it does show how constant observation can make it seem like an atom isn't changing at all. Even though, if it wasn't constantly being measured, it would have changed, if that makes any sense at all. Yeah, this took me some time to wrap my head around. Let's look at it this way though. If you leave an atom alone, it can evolve or change freely according to the laws of quantum mechanics. For example, it might decay from an excited state to a lower energy state. But if you keep checking on it frequently, like shining a light on it, measuring it, you basically freeze its evolution. I don't know, pretty nuts. Electrons can exhibit both wave-like and particle-like behavior in a phenomenon known as wave-particle duality. So imagine you're watching a tennis ball being thrown at a wall. Normally you'd expect it to behave like a particle. It has a specific position and you can predict where it'll bounce, but if we shrink down to the quantum level and throw an electron at a barrier, it doesn't behave like a neat little particle. Instead, it spreads out like a wave passing through multiple holes in the barrier simultaneously. This duality means particles can have characteristics of both waves and particles depending on how we observe or measure them. When we're not looking, they behave like waves, spreading out and interfering with themselves. But when we try to measure them, they suddenly act like particles with specific positions. This is kind of hard to wrap our heads around because we're used to things being either one thing or another, not both at the same time. And to make things even more confusing, observing or measuring the particles can actually influence their behavior, as we stated before. This is the famous observer effect in quantum mechanics. It's as if the particles know when we're watching and change their behavior accordingly. What does this all mean in the grand scheme of things? I have no damn idea, but if scientists are intrigued and confused by it, then so am I. Next, we have quantum entanglement, which seems to ignore the laws of space and time altogether, and if that's not baffling, I don't know what is. Imagine you have two particles that become connected to the point that the state of one particle instantly influences the state of the other, no matter how far apart they are. Sounds crazy, but this is a thing. When two particles are entangled, scientists can measure the polarization of one particle and find it to be, say, vertically polarized, and then instantly know that the other particle's polarization is the exact same, even if it's thousands of miles away. It's pretty obvious why this is crazy. In everyday physics, something can only really have an effect in one general area, and nothing can travel faster than the speed of light. But with quantum entanglement, changes to one entangled particle seem to happen instantaneously, regardless of the distance between the two. This phenomenon has even led Einstein to call it spooky action at a distance. Scientists have tested quantum entanglement in tons of different experiments, and every time it holds up. But as for exactly why, we don't know for sure. It's almost like the particles are telepathically communicating. And quantum entanglement plays a big role in quantum teleportation. Teleportation. Yeah, I like the sound of that. We're getting science fiction-y now. So imagine you have two people, dude 1 and dude 2, and they want to send information about a quantum particle from dude 1's location to dude 2's location. Problem is, you can't make an exact copy of a quantum state and then send it through space. So instead of trying to copy the quantum state and send it directly, Dude 1 and Dude 2 use a process called quantum teleportation. The first dude and the second dude create a pair of entangled particles, like we discussed before. Again, now they're connected, so whatever happens to one particle instantly affects the other, no matter how far apart they are. Dude 1 then combines the particle he wants to teleport with his half of the entangled pair and performs a special measurement on both particles. This measurement changes the state of the entangled pair in a very specific way, depending on the state of the particle he wants to teleport. Next, he sends the results of the measurement to Dude 2 using regular communication, like a phone call or an email. This information doesn't actually contain the quantum state of the original particle. Instead, it's just some instructions for Dude 2 on what he needs to do next. Armed with the first guy's instructions now and half of the entangled pair, Dude 2 performs some operations on his entangled particle, transforming his particle into an exact copy of the original particle that Dude 1 wanted to teleport. Basically, Dude 2's particle takes on the state of the original particle as if it were magically transported from Dude 1's location. Alright, what exactly is responsible for gravity? Well, in quantum field theory, gravitons are the root cause, the carriers of the gravitational field. The thing is, they've never actually been observed. Gravitons have just been proposed by scientists to explain how gravity works on a very tiny scale, like inside atoms. In the world of tiny particles, everything seems to be controlled by these tiny particles called bosons. For example, photons are bosons that carry light. Scientists think that gravitons might be the bosons that carry gravity. The problem is, unlike light particles, gravitons, if they really do exist, must hardly interact with anything, making them super hard to detect. So even though we think they might be out there, we haven't found a way to prove it yet. But if we ever do catch a graviton, it could unlock a whole new understanding of how gravity works at even the smallest levels. Alright, another one of the biggest mysteries of modern science is dark matter. Dark matter is a substance that makes up a large percentage of the universe, but it doesn't emit, absorb, or reflect light, which makes it invisible. We only know that it exists because of the gravitational effects that it has on visible matter, stars and whatnot. Scientists have some ideas about what dark matter could be though. One leading theory is that it could consist of undiscovered particles that interact weakly with regular matter and light, hence the term dark. These particles don't form atoms like the ones we're familiar with, so they don't emit or reflect light. Dark matter plays a big role in the universe's structure and evolution. Its gravitational pull helps galaxies form and holds them together. Without dark matter, galaxies would just fly apart because of their rotational speeds. Dark energy is a term used to describe the unknown force that's thought to be responsible for the accelerated expansion of the universe. The story begins with observations made in 1998 that showed distant galaxies were moving away from us faster than expected. See, before, scientists thought the expansion of the universe would slow down over time because of the gravitational attraction between galaxies. But these observations showed quite the opposite, that the expansion just continues to speed up over time. To explain this accelerated expansion, scientists proposed the existence of dark energy. Unlike normal matter and energy, dark energy doesn't interact with light or other forms of electromagnetic radiation, which is why it's dark and difficult to detect directly. But what exactly is this dark energy? Well, that's still one of the biggest mysteries in physics. There are some theories that attempt to explain it, but none have been confirmed. And we finish off the list with black holes. Is there anything more mysterious in the universe than black holes? Probably, actually, given the vast size of it. But from what we've seen, these things take the #1 spot for biggest mystery, especially when we try to understand them using the rules of quantum mechanics. At the heart of a black hole, there's this tiny point called a singularity, where everything gets squished into an insanely dense point and then seems to just disappear. And this is where our understanding of physics kind of breaks down. Quantum mechanics tells us that information is never truly lost. All the quantum information about an object can't just disappear. One of the laws of physics states the total amount of quantum information in the universe must be conserved. But it certainly seems like anything that falls into a black hole is just lost forever. This contradiction is known as the black hole information paradox, and this is where tons of theories spring up about exactly what happens to things that get sucked into black holes. Does an object's quantum information just become part of the black hole and then it just kind of grows larger over time? Is there some kind of void that the objects just exist in somewhere in there? Do black holes act as wormholes, transporting things to other parts of the universe? We really don't know.
Number 10. Backyard aliens. In late April of this year, Las Vegas police officers investigated reports of 2 unknown entities falling from the sky, and on the same night a nearby resident called 911 to report something 100% not human on their property. According to authorities, a man called 911 to report 2 unknown entities in his backyard after he and his family saw a similar object fall from the sky. The man described the creatures as 8 to 10 feet tall beings that appear to be like aliens with big mouths, big shiny eyes, and added that they're 100% not human. They were looking right at him and his family from their backyard, and he kept clarifying that it was not a joke and that he was terrified of whatever was lurking in the dark. While initially open for several days, the department has since closed the case. The family said officials returned to the home over several days to investigate. Representatives from nearby Creech and Nellis Air Force bases said they were not involved in the incident and suggested contacting the Metro Police. A spokesperson for the Pentagon did not immediately respond to questions regarding this event. So who knows what they truly saw? Number 9. Strange lights. Since the 1940s and possibly even earlier, there have been a strange light phenomenon observed in the Hessdalen Valley, Norway. The spectacle has a form of white or yellow light of unknown origin standing or floating above ground level. Between 1981 and 1984, the lights were observed up to 20 times per week, but have drastically reduced reduced in frequency since then about 10 to 20 times per year. Now why the decrease all of a sudden? No one knows, and no one knows where the lights come from, but UFO enthusiasts took this as a sign that the valley was a portal to other worlds. Now it wasn't just conspiracy theorists that were interested in this, as the strange bursts of light in the 1980s attracted physicists too, interest piqued by the idea of some unexplained natural phenomenon. In the decades since, scientists have determined the glow likely comes from air turned into plasma, and despite ongoing research and numerous working hypotheses, there is no convincing explanation of the origin of these lights, and it seems like it will always be a mystery. Number 8. Cities in the sky. On April 21st, 2017, the citizens from China were awestruck to see an image of a sky floating in the clouds. This phenomena had happened years before in 5 different locations in China, but there was still no clear clarification on how or why this happens. On April 21st, 2017, the citizens from China were awestruck to see the image of a city floating in the clouds. This phenomenon had also happened years before in 5 different locations in China, but there was still no clear clarification on how or why this happens. Some scientists came up with different theories, such as aliens attempting to cross from a different dimension, the second coming of Christ, or is it the image of the holographic test by the Chinese government? Another possible explanation is the infrequent weather event called Fata Morgana, where the light that passes through heat waves causes a duplication effect. However, that seemed unlikely because the image on the sky didn't match the skyline below it. Number 7. The Tunguska Incident. The Tunguska Incident was an approximately 12 megaton explosion that occurred near the Tuska River in Russia on the morning of June 30th, 1908. A massive fireball dashed to the ground before exploding about 6 kilometers above the Earth's surface, and this explosion slaughtered a lot of animals and completely crushed the surrounding forest. It even sent a hot shockwave for miles. Now, some scientists believe that the fireball was an asteroid. However, the biggest mystery in this event was that the massive explosion left no crater and no meteor material that can be found to be examined. Others say that the object which blasted into the sky was composed of ice, and that's why it left no debris, and the Tunguska event is the largest impact event on Earth in recorded history, though much larger impacts occurred in prehistoric times. An explosion of this magnitude would be capable of destroying a large metropolitan area. It has been mentioned numerous times in popular culture and has also inspired real-world discussion of asteroid impact avoidance. Number 6. The Phoenix Lights. The Phoenix Lights were a series of widely sighted unidentified flying objects observed in the sky over the southwestern states of Arizona and Nevada on March 13, 1997. Lights of varying descriptions were seen by thousands of people between 7:30 p.m. and 10:30 p.m. in a space of about 300 miles from the Nevada line, Phoenix, to the edge of Tucson. Some witnesses described seeing what appeared to be a huge carpenter square-shaped UFO containing 5 spherical lights. There were 2 distinct events involved in the incident: a triangular formation of lights seen to pass over the state, and a series of stationary lights seen in the Phoenix area. Now, this wasn't the only time the lights were seen there, as many reports of strange lights over the state in 2007 and 2008 also happened. This event has since become one of the most notorious UFO sightings in history. Number 5. Skyquakes. I didn't even know that skyquakes were a thing, so for those of you who don't know, skyquakes are mysterious booms from the sky, but are not thunder, and they are heard all over the world. The mysterious booms sound like cannon fire rumbling down from the sky. Now, they are commonly heard near water, occasionally rattling windows and plates. Now, some have been explained by military aircraft breaking the sound barrier, but that doesn't account for reports of skyquakes heard as far back as 1824. Now, scientists have come up with a few likely causes. Near coasts, the booms may be caused by enormous waves crashing against cliffs. Sand dunes are also capable, through unexplained mechanisms, of producing sounds, including on rare occasions, large booms. Other options are meteors generating sonic booms as they speed into the atmosphere, shock waves caused by coronal mass ejections from the sun smashing into the Earth's magnetic field, distant volcano eruptions, far-off thunder redirected through the upper atmosphere, deep earthquakes making noises by cracking the crust, and gas belching up from underground vents beneath the ocean or lake beds. But the fact that it could be so many things without a definite answer is freaky. Number 4. The Belgian UFO wave. The Belgian UFO wave began in November 1989. Reports were filed many weeks after the event. Now, many of the reports related a large object flying at low altitude. Some reports also stated that the craft was a flat, triangular shape with lights underneath. The Belgian UFO wave peaked with the events of the night of March 30th to 31st, 1990. On that night, one unknown object was tracked on radar, and 2 Belgian Air Force F-16s were sent to investigate, with neither pilot reporting seeing the object. No reports were received from the public on that date, but over the next 2 weeks, reports from 143 people who claimed to have witnessed the object were received, all of them after the event. Over the ensuing months, many others claimed to have witnessed these events as well. Following the incident, the Belgian Air Force released a report detailing the events of that night. Members of the waiver gendarmerie who had been sent to confirm the original report described 4 lights now being arranged in a square formation, all making short, jerky movements before gradually losing their luminosity and disappearing in 4 separate directions at around 1:30 a.m. Number 3. Forest Grove Sound. In 2016, a high-pitched noise was heard intermittently at night in Forest Grove, Oregon. The Department of Forestry determined that their equipment was not the cause of the sound, and the Washington Post described the noise as sounding like a giant flute playing off pitch, car brakes, or a steam whistle. NBC News described it as akin to a bad one-note violin solo broadcast over a microphone with non-stop feedback. It reportedly lasted from 10 seconds to several minutes at a time. The noise occurred near Gales Creek Road. Neither the City of Forest Grove Public Works Department nor the fire department were able to explain the noise. According to NW Natural, there were no problems with gas lines in the Forest Grove at the time. In February 2016, Andrew Dawes, a professor of physics at Pacific University, mapped the locations where the noise had been heard, although the results were inconclusive and did not suggest a single location. Throughout February 2016, approximately 200 calls were made to the Forest Grove Police Department, according to Captain Mike Herb, who said that most of the calls were suggesting explanations for the sound, ranging from frogs to aliens to Bigfoot. In late February 2016, the Forest Grove Police Department announced via Facebook that the noise did not pose a safety hazard, and that the police announced that they were halting their investigation until further information appeared. However, after February 2016, the noise was not heard again. Number 2. UFO Photograph. A photo taken in St. Paris, Champaign County in 1932 is considered one of the earliest possible photographs of a UFO ever recorded. It shows George Sutton, a local resident, and what appears to be a classic UFO-shaped object over his left shoulder. Skeptics say the object is simply a street lamp, but according to the folklore that surrounds this image, there were no electric streetlights along this road in 1932, nor are any wires or poles visible in the image. The photo is also intriguing because it predates the flying saucer craze of the late 1940s and 50s. It was taken before the alleged Roswell UFO crash in 1947 and 6 years prior to the broadcast of the War of the Worlds in 1938, when some people believed that aliens were attacking Earth. In other words, the person who took this photograph either captured a street lamp, a real UFO, or was way ahead of the curve in terms of pulling a good hoax. But I'd like to think it's a real UFO. And coming in at number 1 is Marfa lights. Yellow orbs like lamp-lit basketballs hover and twinkle and at times gyrate over the shrubby high desert ground in the shadows of the Chinandé Mountains. They appear in the darkness south of US 90 between Alpine and Marfa. Journalist Michael Hall wrote about seeing the Marfa lights in a June 2006 story in Texas Month. Yellowish white lights that glowed, faded, disappeared, and returned in different places. Sometimes they changed colors, other times they split apart. I couldn't tell if they were 10 miles away or 100, the size of a car or a house. Now, just about everyone in Marfa and many who have visited have a story like that. Now, no one really knows the answer to these lights, but some believe it is the ghost of Apache Chief Alasti, who allegedly haunts the area. Other claims it's space aliens trying to contact us, or the ghosts of Spanish conquistadors.